Good evening, friends. I'm Mr. Narratory, and I'll be your voice tonight as we ease into rest. If these videos help you unwind, take a moment to like and subscribe. It really supports the channel. And I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. Now, get comfortable. Close your eyes if you'd like, because it's time for tonight's story. I didn't check into Westvale for peace. I came because it was the only place that didn't ask questions. No intake interviews, no digital paperwork, just a wired transfer, one cryptic confirmation email, and a 3-hour drive into the mountains until signal disappeared. The entrance was an old wrought iron gate, half swallowed by the woods. A single sign: Westvale Retreat. Leave it all behind. Beyond it, a gravel path climbed toward a massive stone building that didn't match the brochure solder, darker, more fortress than spa. I parked in the circular lot. No other cars, no staff waiting, just the front doors already open. Inside, the lobby was empty. Muted green walls, carpet that muffled even my own breath, a faint scent of lavender and something else, something like bleach. A bell sat on the front desk. When I rang it, the chime didn't echo. It just stopped, like the sound had been swallowed. That's when the lights flickered once, and someone appeared behind the desk. She didn't introduce herself, just smiled in a way that didn't reach her eyes and slid me a folder. Inside, a schedule, 10 rooms, 10 sessions, each in a different part of the building. No clocks, no contact, just a handwritten note clipped to the top. Everything you leave here stays here. Everything that stays here heals. The woman said nothing else, just gestured down the hallway. Room 1 was called the Cleanse. It was empty, except for a chair and a single speaker in the wall. When I sat, the door locked behind me with a soft click. The speaker crackled. Describe your worst memory out loud. I didn't move, didn't speak. The speaker didn't ask again. It didn't have to. The walls began to breathe a low, steady sound, like someone inhaling just behind the plaster. I opened my mouth, and for the first time in years, I spoke about it. The crash, the phone call, the voice that told me it wasn't my fault, but said it like a lie. I spoke until my voice cracked. The walls stopped breathing. The door unlocked. Outside, I found a note taped to the hallway mirror. My handwriting: Room 2 is ready. Don't look behind you. I turned anyway. No one there. But the lights were off down the hall now, and one door was open, just wide enough for me to see the padded floor inside. Something moved in the dark, slowly, waiting. I hesitated in the hallway. The door to room 2 stood open like a mouth. No noise from inside, no breeze. Just that smell, again lavender and bleach, thick enough to coat the back of my tongue. There was no staff, no clocks, no cameras I could see, but the lights above buzzed faintly when I moved, like they noticed me, like they were holding back. I stepped inside. The door didn't close right away this time. It waited. I crossed the threshold scanned the padded walls, the low ceiling, the single light above. Then the door clicked shut behind me. Locked. Again. There was a chair in the center, facing another chair. I took mine. Waited. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Not through vents. From the floor. Soft and irregular. Like something just beneath the padded mat was pressing upward. I shifted uncomfortably. The light above flickered once. And when it steadied, someone was sitting across from me. I don't know how they got there. They weren't there a second ago. And they weren't a staff member. They were me. Exactly. Same hoodie. Same scar above the eyebrow. Same tired eyes. But their mouth was stitched shut. Black thread pulled tight across cracked lips. And they stared at me like I was the one who didn't belong. I stood. They stood. I sat. They sat. But delayed just a moment too late. A reflection with lag. A copy that hadn't finished sinking. The walls began to hum. A low-frequency tone that shook the soles of my feet and crawled up my spine. The air felt heavier. Each breath I took felt second-hand. Then the voice from the speaker returned. Only it didn't come from the wall this time. It came from the other me. Without moving its lips. What are you pretending to forget? I didn't answer. I don't know why. Maybe because I'd already asked myself that question 1,000 times, and I never liked the answer. The stitched mouth version of me tilted its head. It blinked twice, and I felt a sharp pressure behind my eyes, like a migraine warming up. Say it, the voice urged, or it stays with you forever. The air in the room changed, got warmer, wetter. I looked down at the floor. A wet spot was forming under the other chair. Thick, slow, red blood. It pooled outward. My other self didn't flinch, just pointed one stitched finger toward my chest. And the voice whispered again, "This is where you buried it. The memory of what you did," while they screamed your name. I ran for the door, pounded it with my fist. It didn't budge. The other, me, stood again, walked toward me. I backed away until my spine hit the wall. It stood inches away. And then, without warning, it opened its mouth. The stitches didn't tear. They unraveled, one by one, as if the thread had never been real to begin with. Behind its lips, teeth that weren't mine, not human, filed flat, hundreds of them, set in spirals. Like the mouth didn't go into a throat, it went into a tunnel. The lights cut out. I screamed, and when they flickered back, I was alone. No blood, no other self, just my chair. And one word burned into the padded wall behind me. Again, the door clicked, opened, and outside, taped to the mirror, a new note. My handwriting, "Room 3 is open. Do not bring what followed you." I turned toward the hallway, but before I stepped out, I checked the reflection, and I wasn't there. Not fully, just a smudge, flickering at the edges, breathing like the room. I stood outside room 3 for a long time. The hallway was colder now, somehow longer, like the building was shifting with me. The lights buzzed faintly, like they were breathing in, then out in time with my heartbeat. There was no label on the door this time, just a smear of white chalk across the wood, like someone tried to erase a name. I gripped the handle. It wasn't locked. Inside, pitch black. No chair, no speaker, no hum, just empty space, and the soft scent of something chemical like chloroform and ash. I stepped in, and the door shut behind me without sound. No click, no latch, just darkness, total, until I breathed, and something else breathed back. It wasn't loud, just there. A second rhythm, not animal, not mechanical, wet, human. I whispered, "Hello?" Instantly, the breathing stopped. The temperature dropped 5 degrees. I heard something shift across the floor. Just once, just an inch. But it was the kind of sound your body recognizes before your brain does something alive, something not supposed to move. Then the speaker inside my head clicked on again. Not in the room, in my head. You spoke. You broke the quiet. It heard you. I pressed myself to the wall. My hands were slick with sweat, my mouth dry. I tried to listen, to count the seconds between the movements, but there were no more sounds. Just a whisper behind my right ear. Let it finish what it started. The light flickered once. A bare bulb overhead, weak and yellow, revealed the room. Stone walls. A single gurney in the center. Straps dangling. And a figure curled in the corner, unmoving, covered in a white sheet, face pressed to the wall. It hadn't been there when I entered, or maybe the dark had hidden it. I blinked, and the light shut off again. Total dark. No breathing now. Not mine, not its. Only a slow clicking sound like teeth. And something whispered from the walls themselves. Room 3 is not for you. I reached for the door, found the handle, twisted. It didn't move. I pulled harder. Nothing. I turned back, heart hammering. Still dark, still silent. Then a hand touched my wrist. Not aggressively, just held it. Cold, thin, fingers too long. It traced the veins on my arm, then let go. The speaker returned, soft and shaking. It remembers you. The light blinked again. This time, just long enough for me to see the figure at the center of the room standing, facing me. The sheet still over its head, but the gurney was gone. And the walls now had scratch-marked hundreds, all clustered around one phrase. I didn't wake up. You left me there. The light died. The room screamed. Not a voice, not a person, just the walls, like they were gasping all at once. Then, silence. Again. And the door swung open behind me. Bright light in the hallway. I ran out. Didn't look back. Collapsed against the wall. Hands shaking. Taped to the mirror beside me. Another note. Room 4 is ready. If you hear crying, don't answer. And below it, in handwriting not mine, we're so proud of you. But the letters bled down the glass, like they'd been written in something warm. The hallway outside room 4 had changed. Longer again, lights dimmer. The air felt thicker, like walking through soup. or worse, like being remembered by something too big to see. Room 4's door was already ajar, barely, just enough to let a sliver of warm air and the faintest sound of weeping slip into the hall. I almost turned back. I should have, but the note said not to answer the crying, not to avoid it. So I stepped in, and the door sealed behind me with the softest hiss, like a breath held too long. The room was dim and soft around the edges, walls covered in padded fabric, stitched and sagging. No lights, just a red glow coming from a small lamp on the floor. There was a chair, again, only this time it wasn't mine. It was already occupied. A woman sat there, facing the far wall, her back to me, dressed in a hospital gown, hair tangled and wet, sobbing, shoulders shaking with each breath. I said nothing, sat against the far wall, waited. The crying never stopped. It rose and fell like a tide, but never ceased, until I whispered, "Do you want help?" And it stopped cold. The woman stood, still didn't turn, still didn't speak, but something in the room changed with her silence. The red light began to pulse, throb. I stood too, back pressed to the door. I reached for the handlegon. Not locked. Gone. The padded wall, where the door had been, now just sagged like everything else. I knocked once. The walls exhaled. And then the woman finally spoke. But it wasn't one voice. It was many, layered, all versions of her. Some angry, some scared, some whispering things I didn't understand. "You walked out. You said we'd be better. You forgot we were in here." The fabric of the walls began to ripple. Something moved inside it. Something long, pacing behind the padding like a shark under ice. The woman turned slowly. Her face was mine, eyes blurred, mouth sewn with rows of black thread. She stepped forward, each footstep muffled, like she was inside my thoughts. "You left me with it," she whispered. "Now it wants to come out through you." The red light dimmed. The room throbbed once. Then the ceiling above me opened, a flap, like a wound in the sky, and a shape dropped down, thin, twisted, not a person, a thing made of hospital straps and patient wristbands, all tangled together into something vaguely human. It didn't move. It didn't need to, because when I looked at it, I remembered something I hadn't let myself in years. A face under anesthesia, mine, eyes twitching, lips trying to scream through tubes. A nurse saying, "They're not waking up, call it." The walls hissed again. The woman screamed, and the padded floor beneath me started to breathe. I covered my ears, sank to my knees, spoke the only truth I had. I didn't know. The room stilled. The red light blinked once, and the door reappeared, open, waiting. I crawled out, gasping, dry heaving. There was no note this time, just a mirror. My reflection stared back, but my eyes weren't my own. Too wide, too dark, and smiling without permission. Written in condensation, "Room 5 will explain, but you won't understand until it's already too late." The hallway leading to Room 5 was blank. No doors, no seams, just endless matte walls, the color of old bone. But as I walked, I started to notice something wrong with the steps beneath me. No sound, no echo. My feet touched the ground, but they didn't connect, like walking on fabric stretched over a void. Then I blinked, and I was inside. No door, no threshold, no sensation of arrival, just inside. The room had no walls, no corners, no ceiling, just blackness. Not dark black, the kind that swallows shapes and smothers sound. I reached out in every direction. Nothing. I stepped forward, and somehow I was seated. A chair beneath me I hadn't seen. I tried to stand. Couldn't. I tried to speak. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. No voice. No breath. Only a long silence pressing against my chest like pressure underwater. Then, a click. Not from around me, from inside me, and a voice spoke from nowhere. Welcome to room 5, the place between your last thought and your next. I tried to move again, still couldn't. Then I noticed my arms weren't resting on the chair. They were strapped down, soft fabric restraints tight enough to numb. A weight across my chest I hadn't felt until now. My legs bound at the ankles, and the voice returned, calm as ever. Here, you'll remember what forgetting feels like. Here, you'll know how long you've been here. Here, you'll begin to unfold. I screamed. No sound, not a whisper. Only my heart pounding louder and louder until I wasn't sure if it was my heart at all, because something else was beating too, not from me. Beneath me, like the chair was alive, or occupied. The blackness began to shift. Shapes formed in the dark, thin outlines twitching in place. They weren't people. They were positions. Places someone had once been, like burn marks left behind after something's removed. And each one faced me, kneeling, crawling, reaching. 1,000 silhouettes in a room with no walls. The restraints loosened. The chair exhaled. And the voice whispered, choose the version of yourself you buried. We'll wear the rest. A single light blinked above. Only one, revealing a body across from me. Mine. But this one was broken, bent at wrong angles. Mouth open in a scream that never ended. Flesh bloated and veined with black webbing. And its eyes watched me, like it was waiting to be chosen, like it had waited forever. The chair beneath me pulsed again. This time I stood. My feet found floor, but I didn't move, because the other me raised its hand and pointed behind me. I turned, another version, younger, smiling, unscarred, eyes clear, and I knew what the room wanted. I could keep the clean one if I gave the broken one my name. The voice returned. You cannot leave with all of you. The room keeps the pieces that scream. I closed my eyes, took one breath, and stepped backward. The light shut off. The silence collapsed, and the chair let go. I don't remember walking out. I just remember standing in front of a mirror. New note taped to the glass. Room 6 is ready. And scratched faintly beneath it, in a hand shakier than mine. Don't let it speak in your voice. If it does, it's already too late. The hallway to room 6 was darker than the rest. Lights above flickered slowly, one after the other, like they were leading me or chasing me. Each step echoed louder than it should have, like the sound didn't belong to my feet anymore. The door was already open, a light inside flickering rhythmically. I stepped in. The door sealed behind me with a whisper. Room 6 was small, pale green walls, one table, 2 chairs, a voice recorder in the center, red light blinking, and across from me, not a reflection, not a copy, an exact match. Hair, clothes, posture, every detail, except for one. He was already smiling. I sat. We stared at each other. The red light on the recorder blinked faster. I waited for a voice, a speaker, a command, but nothing came until my other self leaned in and said, "Let's talk about the lie." His voice was mine. Same tone, same tempo, but it hit differently. Like my own echo had learned to stab. I said nothing. He tilted his head, tapped the recorder. You know the rule, right? One of us leaves. One of us stays. Whoever tells the truth gets out. I laughed, but it came out dry. I'm not playing. He smiled wider. You already did. Remember room 2? You said it. You said you weren't to blame. I felt it then, a pressure behind my eyes. The room contracting like a lung. He leaned in further, whispered, "But you were driving, weren't you? You closed your eyes." For just a second, the room hummed, walls blurred. My hands trembled, but the other me didn't move. He stayed perfectly still, like he was rooted. "Tell the truth," he said, "and I'll let you walk away. Lie, and I'll use your voice when they come looking." I stood. He stood too, mirroring me, but no longer delayed. Now perfect, seamless. He was sinking. I looked at the recorder, still blinking, still waiting. Then I leaned in, mouth close, and said, "I lied. I was driving. I saw the light turn red. I thought I had time." The blinking stopped. The recorder clicked. The air shifted, and the other me began to peel, skin tearing softly like fabric soaked in water. Underneath, nothing. No bone, no flesh, just threads, like a puppet. And then he collapsed. The chair across from me was empty, the table gone, the walls gone, just me, standing alone in a room of mirrors that hadn't been there before, and in every reflection, me, but only one was breathing. I turned to leave. The door opened before I touched it. Another note taped to the wall outside. Room 7 waits in silence. If you hear someone humming, leave immediately. That voice isn't yours anymore. Room 7 wasn't a room. It was a hallway. Or maybe it was a loop. I stepped inside and found myself in a corridor that stretched further than it should have, lights flickering every 10 feet, each buzz like a breath drawn through teeth. No furniture, no doors, just soft carpet underfoot and faded wallpaper the color of hospital gowns. The moment the door sealed behind me, the silence pressed in not emptiness, but something active, alive. I took a step, silence. Another, still nothing. And then I heard it, so faint I thought it was in my head. A low hum, sweet, tuneless, off pitch. Someone humming a lullaby with my voice. I froze. The humming stopped. Something knew I'd heard it. The lights at the end of the corridor snapped a phone by one, heading toward me. I turned and walked fast, trying not to run. This wasn't like the other rooms. There were no rules, only survival. I turned the first corner and hit a mirror, floor to ceiling. My reflection wasn't mine. It blinked late, smiled wide, and tilted its head to the side. The humming returned, closer now, behind the glass, not behind me, inside the mirror. I stepped back, heart hammering. The reflection placed a hand on the glass. Its fingers were too long, stretched, soft, and it was still smiling. "Found you," it whispered, even though its mouth never moved. The hallway shifted. I swear it, shifted, walls bending, carpet rippling like skin under pressure. I ran, not fast, just far, turned a corner. Another mirror, another version of me. Eyes all pupil, mouth humming the same broken melody, but now I could feel it vibrating in my ribs, like it was tuning itself to me, matching my frequency. The speaker in my head whispered, "It sings to find your bones. Stay still, and it forgets you. Move, and it remembers the shape of your name." I crouched low, covered my ears, tried to breathe evenly. The humming passed by close, too close. It wasn't behind the mirrors anymore. It was beside me, walking barefoot. I didn't look up, didn't breathe. It stopped right in front of me. The hum died. Then a voice, whispering in my tone, but without warmth. "You think you still belong to your body. You don't?" I opened my eyes, saw its feet, no toes, just soft, rounded stumps like fingertips. It crouched. I stared into the dark hole where its mouth should have been, and it sang, not a hum, a song, about drowning in your own skin, about being forgotten inside a hospital room, about losing your voice until someone else finds it and wears it better than you ever did. Then it stood, walked away. Each step sang the word hush, and the lights came back on. The hallway was short again. The mirror was empty, and the door to the next room was open. On the wall beside it, in blood-black ink, "Room 8 is almost full. You're not bringing enough of yourself to finish." The door to room 8 wasn't like the others. No handle, no lock, just an outline in the wall. I pressed my palm to it. It opened, like it had been waiting for skin. The hallway behind it wasn't lit, just a faint glow pulsing under the floor, like veins under pale flesh. I walked in, and the door closed behind me. Soft, final. Inside, the air was heavier than before, not stale, saturated, like someone had been crying in here for years and the walls had absorbed it. A single metal table waited in the center of the room. On it, a set of surgical tools, a mirror, and a note, handwritten, but not in my handwriting this time. This one was neat, precise, cold. Disassemble gently. You may keep 3 things. Leave the rest. We'll use them for someone else. I turned to leave. The door was gone. Not closed. Not hidden. Gone. The table light dimmed, and the mirror in front of me lit up. But the reflection wasn't doing what I was. I stood still. It smiled. It gestured to the table, then laid its hands flat, like a patient waiting for prep. Its mouth opened silently. 3 words on repeat, take what's left. I reached for the scalpel, not to use it, just to test it. The blade was warm, like it had already cut something alive. I looked back at the mirror. The version of me was laying down now, chest rising and falling like it was asleep, waiting. Beneath it, labels appeared on the glass. Memory, voice, regret, pain, fear, lies. 7 in total. And below them, you may keep 3. Choose wisely. The rest will be repurposed. The lights in the room began to pulse. The mirror hissed. A timer appeared in red above my reflection. 2 minutes. I grabbed the scalpel. I touched the mirror. The surface went soft like flesh, and I pressed in. My hand passed through. I felt myself on the other side, beating, breathing, begging. I had to decide. I kept pain, because it was real. It proved I'd lived. Voice, because without it, I'd never know if I was screaming. Fear, because something in me needed to remember why I ran in the first place. The moment I made the 3rd choice, the rest were cut from the reflection, ripped away like tissue. The mirror shook. My double screamed, but the sound didn't come from the glass. It came from me, from my own throat, like it had always belonged to the parts I just gave up. The reflection crumbled, slumped backward, gone. The mirror went black, and I was alone. Except I wasn't, because now there were others behind the glass. Shapes, watching, waiting. One of them stepped forward, looked like me, but different, better, stronger, like it had been made from all the best parts I left behind. And it smiled. Thank you. Then the mirror shattered, and the door appeared again. On the other side, scrawled into the hallway wall with something sharp. Room 9 remembers. It wears what you forgot, and it never stops trying them on. I didn't want to enter room 9. The hallway before it pulsed like a throat, soft ridges along the ceiling thudding in time with something else's heartbeat. The door didn't open. When I touched it, it whispered, right against my skin, my name, not in my voice, but in one I hadn't heard in years. Ash, the person I left behind in that room, in the crash, in the dark, locked place. places of my mind I should have run. Instead, I stepped in. Room 9 wasn't a room. It was a closet. At least, that's what it looked like at first. Narrow, tall, shelves lined with objects. Every shelf held something I recognized. A shirt, a cracked cell phone, a photograph, a hospital band with my name faded almost invisible. Each item radiated weight like they were alive with memory. Each pulsed when I stepped closer. The photo shook. The phone buzzed once. The shirt twitched, as if worn by someone not quite present. And then I saw the mask. Top shelf. Porcelain. Painted. But not with a design. With my face. My current face. The one I saw in the mirror this morning. Expressionless. Cold. Eyeless. The door closed behind me. Darkness swallowed everything except the shelf. The mask rose slowly from its perch, floated in the air like held by invisible hands. And then a voice spoke from inside the closet, from the walls, from me. We kept the pieces. You chose to forget. We chose to remember. The mask twisted mid-air. Its lips moved. Let's see how you look in your old skin. The closet expanded. Shelves pulled apart like curtains. And behind them, me, dozens of versions. One still soaked in blood. One screaming endlessly. One curled in a ball with hands over ears. Each wore something I discarded. Each had a different part of my past, painted on its face like war paint. They all looked up, at once, and whispered in unison, "Do you still fit?" I tried to move. Couldn't. The air had thickened, like syrup or memory. The mask floated closer, pressed itself to my face, and for a moment, I remembered everything. The crash, Ash calling my name, the moment I decided to pretend I wasn't the one behind the wheel, the look on their face before it all went dark, and worse, the feeling after, the relief that it wasn't me in the passenger seat. The mask melted into my skin. I screamed, but no sound, no air, only visions. My old life stitched together with everything I tried to bury. And from the corner of the closet, something crawled out. A version of me that never lied, that never forgot, that never came to Westvale. It stood tall, eyes hollow, mouth open, and it whispered, "You can't escape something you never owned. Guilt wears you better than you wear yourself." The closet walls collapsed outward. Room 9 was gone. I was standing in the hallway again, alone, but my face felt different, softer. Wrong. I looked in the mirror. My reflection was already waiting, smiling, wearing the mask. It pointed to the final door. Room 10. No note this time. Just one phrase, carved into the wood itself. If this room breathes, you're already inside it. Room 10 wasn't just a room. It was the house. When I stepped through the last door, there were no walls, no lights, no hallway behind me. Just space, vast and pulsing. The floor below me rose and fell like the lung of something dreaming or feeding, and the air, warm, wet, alive. I couldn't see the ceiling, only black above, veined with red threads, twitching like nerves. I took a breath. The room took one with me, and something whispered into my chest. You made it. You made it through all the parts that weren't you. The floor shifted, stretched forward. A path formed, slick and organic, leading to the only thing in sight, a chair, not like the others. This one was made of people, fused arms, legs, ribs, bent into a throne, their faces silent, eyes stitched open, mouths sewn shut with threads that pulsed faintly, waiting. I didn't want to sit, but my body did. It moved without asking, without hesitation, like something else was in control now. The moment I sat, the chair tightened, and the room spoke, not through a speaker, not from the walls, from beneath me. You've been healing, every lie cut, every scar examined, every silence fed. But healing has a cost. The mirror appeared in front of me, hovering, rotating slowly, and in it I saw all the versions of myself I'd left behind. The copy, the stitched mouth self, the one who screamed in silence, the me that wore the mask. They were all standing in the dark around the chair now, no longer bound, no longer broken, just waiting. One by one, they stepped forward and touched my chest. Their palms burned. I could feel them taking something. Memory, regret, fear, voice, until I was hollow, a vessel, still breathing, but not full, not anymore. And then the last version stepped forward, the one who had never forgotten anything, the one who stayed behind the wheel. They didn't touch me. They looked me in the eyes and said, "You're not supposed to leave full. You're supposed to leave lighter, empty enough for someone else to fit inside." The chair groaned, split down the middle. The floor beneath me pulsed once, then again, and then exhaled, a massive wet breath that shook everything. And in the space between that breath and the next, the world reset. I woke up in my car, parked outside the Westvale gate. Sun rising behind the trees. The sign still there. Westvale Retreat, leave it all behind. I checked my hands. No scars, no notes, no signs. Only the faintest smell of lavender and bleach on my skin. I tried to remember what happened inside, but all I could recall was a sound like something enormous breathing through a wall too thin to hold it. I turned the key. The engine started, and I left. That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't slept since. Every night, just before 3 a.m., I wake up gasping. The walls of my room pulse. The air tastes sweet and stale. And the mirrors, they're starting to fog, even when there's no heat. Last night, I heard it again, a voice, in my own voice. From inside the bathroom, we kept the best parts. You're ready for someone else now. Open up. It's time to breathe.